On Lariat TV News today, in our special edition newscast for Global News Relay, we'll share stories with you about how COVID-19 has altered life in Waco and beyond.
This newscast will highlight how Baylor's light continues to shine as coronavirus takes its toll on the world. We'll give you an inside look into how Baylor's organizations are serving the community and spreading positivity in the midst of the pandemic.
COVID-19 is a complex virus that we're still learning about. In this story, we'll speak with a Baylor student who is asymptomatic for COVID-19. However, he's experienced loss of taste and smell. We also talk to the public health district and hear about the difficulty of tracking people with coronavirus.
In sports, one Baylor Bear saw his dreams of pole vaulting in the 2020 Olympics dashed when the games were postponed. Casey Lightfoot was slated to trade the green and gold for red, white, and blue to represent the United States in the Tokyo Olympics this summer. Good afternoon and welcome to Lariat TV News Today. I'm Sarah Gill reporting from the heart of Baylor University's campus in Waco, Texas.
And I'm Julia Lorenz coming to you from San Diego, California. Thanks for joining us. Today we're going to bring you a special edition newscast as part of Global News Relay.
This event brings together students from universities all across the globe in a newscast focused on how COVID-19 has altered life in Waco and abroad. Our first story is how Baylor's light continues to shine as coronavirus takes its toll on the world.
LTVN's Grace Smith joins us from her hometown of Boerne, Texas, to share how Baylor's organizations have turned this time of crisis into an opportunity to serve.
COVID-19 hasn't stopped Baylor from using its resources to help others around the world. One organization I spoke with is supplying nearly 500,000 starving children across the globe with a boxed meal every day. While the COVID-19 pandemic halted activity on campus, it certainly did not stop the university's light from shining bright throughout the Waco community and beyond.
Right now as the university, I think really kind of leaning into our Christian mission to love our neighbors as ourselves.
Jeremy Everett, the founder and executive director of the Baylor Collaborative on Hunger and Poverty, spoke with me about how his team created a curbside meal program once 200 Texas school districts announced they were going to close due to the virus.
Our team propped up a website and began to work with those school districts to be able to find out how they could serve meals to kids even when the kids were going to be out of school. Where kids essentially could just drive up to a given, like a school or a nonprofit organization or even like a church parking lot and pick up a meal and take it home.
The team also is in partnership with the U.S. Department of Agriculture and has in works a program called Meals to You, where boxes of food will be shipped to kids who live in rural areas across the nation.
We have this firm belief that hunger and poverty are too big for any one organization or any one sector to address by themselves, and that it takes a collaborative approach. So to be able to see kind of that theory come to life and yield millions of meals for kids around the country is that's pretty special.
We either fall on our faith or we fall from our faith, and I've just seen so many people step into and really depend upon our faith.
Dr. Jeremy Vickers, the Associate Vice President of External Affairs at Baylor, tells me how their team stepped up during the pandemic.
We want Baylor and Waco to be like brothers and sisters, not separate but together. We have a vision that we want to paint the town green and gold.
Will you talk about the initiative that your team took in response to COVID-19?
So when the opportunity to move online, and by opportunity I mean crisis, we saw an opportunity to partner with Waco ISD to create some inspiration and help those students and their families just continue to be encouraged to read.
Keep learning, keep reading. A campaign encouraging literacy during COVID-19. A series of videos are posted on the Solid Gold Neighbor Facebook page. Weekly posts feature Baylor and Waco community leaders reading their favorite children's book. And these are just two examples of organizations within Baylor University that have shifted their resources to serve in the fight against COVID-19. For Lariat TV News, reporting for Global News Relay, I'm Grace Smith.
Sewing machines have become an essential during this pandemic as they've been used to make masks and other protective garments. I interviewed a senior designer and the directors of the Baylor fashion show. Now let's take a look to see how the fashion industry is changing. As we're all at home social distancing to help stop the spread of COVID-19, our lives have changed drastically. And that's no exception for the Baylor fashion show, which has been canceled.
It's really disappointing that we worked so hard and really had this plan that didn't work out. But I think in the same way, I'm really excited because it's just forcing us to look at this and be so intensely creative. But I think that we can tell their stories more fully now that they're not just limited to a runway.
Designer Lauryn James is going through the obstacles of creating her senior collection from home and is missing some of the resources she had access to at the Baylor studio.
The space that we had in the lab at Waco and the different supplies that they offered us, and like we have industrial machines there which are like so nice, and so relearning like how to use my little home sewing machine has definitely been tricky. And I kind of like set up, we have like a little extra room in our house, and so set up a little home studio and got to like bring my table and my sewing machines home from Waco.
As we're all adjusting to this new normal, Lauryn's finding new ways to get input on her collection aside from her peers.
It is sad like not being around your peers, and especially like your classmates, because I feel like you just collaborate and we inspire each other and we bounce off of each other like so much. So my mom, it's funny, she like knows nothing about sewing, but she tries her best to understand me.
While maneuvering through this pandemic, Alex Davis, a co-director of the show, believes the future of fashion is changing.
It's interesting to watch like the industry itself because a lot of shows are supposed to be happening right now. So I've been looking at a lot of that, just kind of seeing like how designers in the industry are kind of adjusting to that. I think it'll just be something that we'll all be able to relate to, like that time fashion completely changed. There's so many things changing in the industry, and even all the design houses coming together to sew masks and stuff. Like, I think the industry is going to shift a lot.
My theme is celebration. I wanted people to feel celebrated in my clothes, and like life is worth celebrating every day, no matter like what celebration you're celebrating.
Let's bring Lauryn's collection to life and live every day in celebration, even throughout this pandemic. For Lariat TV News, reporting for Global News Relay, I'm Julia Lorenz.
COVID-19 has most of the world in a state of panic. Regardless of shelter-in-place orders, many people are choosing to stay home due to a fear of getting infected. There are millions of cases, and chances are you may not realize you have the coronavirus and unknowingly spread it to others. Let's hear from one Baylor student who has an asymptomatic case of COVID-19. Coughing, fever, and shortness of breath are some of the most common symptoms of COVID-19. But how do you know if you have it if you're asymptomatic? Baylor junior Tim Irwin tested positive for coronavirus and only experienced one symptom, a loss of taste and smell.
I woke up and just couldn't taste at all, and couldn't smell either. Within a couple of days, I was like, I've never had it last this long, and I've never had a complete lack of taste.
After hearing that a loss of taste and smell could be a symptom of COVID-19, Irwin got tested.
Mr. Irwin, the test that we did yesterday for COVID-19 did return positive.
Asymptomatic is a concern, and that's why we want people to stay at home, because you may be at risk at passing this on to other people and just not realize it because you are not, having symptoms, or you don't have those classic symptoms like a fever or difficulty breathing.
A loss of taste and smell causes all food to lose its flavor. Irwin describes eating in one word: boring.
It's just a chore now. Like, you have to eat to stay alive, and like no matter what I eat, it's going to taste exactly the same. So I've been eating healthier, which is nice.
With COVID-19 comes one common concern. Did you unknowingly infect someone?
I don't think at this point I've infected anyone, and if I have infected anyone, they haven't gotten any symptoms. Certainly something I was worried about early on, because you only hang out with the people you like the most. I don't want those people getting corona.
Irwin has been cleared of COVID-19 since April 1st, but the virus left some damage.
There's people that just refuse to be around me, just won't be in the same room as me, still out of fear.
His sense of taste and smell are still gone.
I really hope it comes back. might not.
Stay-at-home orders are being lifted, but COVID-19 will continue to leave a lasting impact.
Even though we're lessening the restrictions, you still need to be aware that it's out there. Social distancing is still the new norm, that wearing a mask or a face covering is still the new norm.
COVID-19 is a complex virus that doctors are still trying to understand. It's important to not live in fear, but still take the proper precautions to navigating this new normal. For Lariat TV News, reporting for Global News Relay, I'm Sarah Gill.
The whole world is in a state of shock, especially young adults who were planning on graduating and starting a new chapter of their lives. LTVN's Igor Stepczynski interviewed 2 Dallas-Fort Worth entrepreneurs. Igor, can you tell us a little more about this?
That's right. As the spring semester was cut short, so was students' access to priceless on-campus resources. Thankfully, one platform is doing what they can to help with anything from jump-starting careers, eating healthy, to even expert videos on dating during COVID-19.
March 7th, University of Washington. Coronavirus shut down its first large U.S. college. Since then, over 4,000 did the same, impacting almost 26 million students. Graduations were canceled, internships were scrapped, and jobs crashed, leaving young adults coping with severe loss. Thankfully, 2 DFW leaders are lending a helping hand just one click away.
In spite of the physical distance that we all need to take as a precaution right now, this really is a time for us to lean on everyone in our community.
Alex Kean and Greg Weatherford II are co-founders of the nonprofit Young Leaders for Change. Their newest campaign, Let's Thrive Now, is a one-stop shop for young adults desperate for reliable information.
We kind of see it as being able to provide a digital hug. We said, what can we do? And that's when we put our heads together and said, you know what? I think one of the best things you can provide people in a time of uncertainty is accurate information.
What started off as a 30-day service challenge is now a platform of wellness during a time when the world is sick. The website covers an expansive variety of topics with the help of knowledgeable people, some of which are Baylor alumni.
I saw so many of my friends get their lives essentially turned upside down. We really just wanted to find a way to get information and guidance out to young people that they could rely on, because although there is a lot of information out there, it can sometimes be hard as a young person to know what really is the best guide you should refer to.
It's another journey of 2 dedicated leaders putting in time and effort to help you thrive now.
The one thing that I would tell young people to really do is to first think about their mindset, because that really does control everything.
I really hope that young people can really take this as an opportunity to really recenter their lives, take this as a chance to improve and better themselves in some areas that they really have been wanting to work on for a long time.
For Lariat TV News, reporting for Global News Relay, I'm Igor Stepczynski.
With the majority of Americans working from home, one of the biggest things that COVID-19 is affecting in the United States is the working class. What will a global pandemic do to a capitalistic economy, and how are business owners responding? LTVN's April Odo is reporting from her home in Corona, California, and has the details of what you need to know.
As economists fear a possible recession as the outcome of COVID-19, I spoke with CEO of Turnkey Marketing, Erik Baerresen, and the Associate Professor and Chair of the Department of Economics at Baylor University, Charles North, in order to see what these experts had to say about how this will impact our economy. COVID-19 has made many adjustments to the way in which we are living our lives. But one of the biggest things that it is impacting is the United States economy. What does this mean for Americans?
I think it's, we got to find a way to get the economy running, because any of this stuff just treats the problem, it's like the symptoms and actually not the actual cause. I think we're already in a recession. So this one I think is actually worse than 2008. Somehow you can't not eat, and you can't not do business. So you got to find some way to be able to do business safely.
With the majority of Americans behind closed doors at home, the working class is struggling to manage business, leading to potential economic damage.
The longer that shelter in place is in place, and the longer that we have restrictions on economic activity, the higher the cost of those restrictions on the economy are going to be. and probably the lesser they will have benefit for saving lives. So there's this sort of declining benefit to stopping the disease. There's increasing damage to continuing it. We do know that we're seeing huge negative economic consequences of the shelter-in-place orders and other kinds of shutdowns that are going on. So how you balance people's livelihoods, especially low-income people, is really very difficult.
For Lariat TV News, reporting for Global News Relay, I'm April Odo.
Sliding into sports, there's a Baylor athlete who is slated to compete in the 2020 Olympics, but his dreams are now dashed as those games were postponed. LTVN's Nate Smith is at his house in Porter, Texas, to give us more.
People on nearly every corner of the globe train endlessly in hopes of one day getting to compete in the Olympic Games. But what does a future Olympian do when there are no Olympics to train for? I caught up with Baylor's Casey Lightfoot to find out.
Baylor's Casey Lightfoot is one of the country's premier collegiate pole vaulters, and he was poised to secure himself a spot on Team USA for this summer's Tokyo Olympics. But unfortunately, not even future Olympians are immune to the effects that COVID-19 has on our lives.
Although the postponement of the games didn't come without its fair share of disappointment, Lightfoot has a uniquely positive outlook on the situation.
With anything, you got to find the positives, you know? I mean, I think about it as I have another year to prepare for the Olympics. But for me, I'm still young. I'm only 20 years old. So, I mean, my body still definitely has places to grow, and I can still mature more and get stronger. And I think I can fix so many things in the vault because it's never perfect.
Lightfoot holds the Baylor record for indoor pole vault, in addition to being this year's Big 12 indoor pole vault champion, as well as being named to the conference all-indoors team. And even with all the accolades, it's safe to say that the combination of early season success and a global pandemic aren't going to keep him from improving on his craft.
You can't just stop training. I mean, you want to stay at the top level, you gotta stay at peak performance pretty much all the time, which is hard. And I mean, right now it's even harder because, well, I mean, we don't have the facilities to train at. We can't use anything that we do at school. So I mean, I'm at home right now just trying to do the old home workouts.
Lightfoot has gotten the opportunity to wear the red, white, and blue before in events like the IAAF World Championships. And it's that taste of getting to compete for Team USA that keeps him coming back for more.
Whenever you actually get to put on the uniform and go out there and jump and just do what you like to do, it's a dream come true, really. I mean, the only other one that I really want right now is to be on the Olympic team, you know?
The waiting game has become a large part of everyone's life during the coronavirus outbreak. But for Lightfoot, the wait may not seem so long.
Thankfully, it was only postponed. It could have been canceled, and then we would have had to wait 4 years. So, we only have to wait one. I mean, that's nothing. I've been waiting my whole life, so what's one more year?
For Lariat TV News, reporting for Global News Relay, I'm Nate Smith.
The sports industry generates millions of dollars annually from major universities, and the cancellation of spring athletics has rocked not just coaches and players, but sports media and the community as a whole. I talked to multiple Bears and got their perspective on what the last month and a half has looked like. Baylor baseball and softball coaches Steve Rodriguez and Glenn Moore saw their successful seasons end just weeks into the year.
I know this is bigger than softball, and I try to keep that in perspective, but from a softball standpoint, it was devastating because this team was ready to reclaim the position they had been in for quite a few years, and we were well on our way, I think.
It became pretty frustrating for our guys just because, you know, we finally just got started and everything we were feeling pretty good about ourselves, as I think a lot of teams were. And then all of a sudden, you know, it gets pulled out from under you, and now you're like, okay, now what?
And from a player's standpoint, the cancellation of the season was just as devastating.
I actually will never forget the moment where I learned that everything was canceled for the rest of our season. It was really difficult. It felt like a really big loss, and it was even harder not to be able to stand next to my teammates and my coaches whenever we learned that was happening.
And while all spring sport athletes were granted an extra year of eligibility, that can never erase what could have been.
Doing it another year doesn't change the things that we lost with this year. Like, I'll never have this team back. It's a nice opportunity. It's really awesome that they decided to do it, and I'm so grateful. Like, we are very lucky that we were given that chance. But it doesn't give us back the things that we lost from this year.
Aside from players and coaches, the pandemic has even taken a toll on local sports media. For example, Baylor sports talk show host Paul Catalina stared job loss in the face.
I'm okay. I mean, like, it's fine. It's just that those kind of things, like, it'll hit you. Oh, my God, I don't have a job.
And while Catalina recently joined the new Sikkim 365 radio crew to try and get back to normal, he says that sports will forever be changed.
Whenever COVID-19 is gone and there's a vaccine and all that, everything we do will be different. Are you gonna hand a hot dog down the aisle the same way? Probably not. Like, what is that gonna mean? There's so many things that are gonna come out of this.
Sports as we know it will truly never be the same. For Lariat TV News, reporting for Global News Relay, I'm Drake Toll. And that's all from this special Global News Relay edition of Baylor's Lariat TV News Today.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.
To watch more of our work, head to BaylorLariat.com. Stay safe and Sikkim Bears.